Adding to the mountain of controversy surrounding New York Congressman George Santos, a new report from the Washington Post alleges the embattled lawmaker has significant ties to the family of a sanctioned Russian oligarch. According to the Post, Andrew Intrater and his wife each gave the maximum $5,800 to Santos's main campaign committee and tens of thousands of dollars more since 2020 to committees linked to Santos. That's according to filings with the FEC. Intrater's cousin is Russian billionaire Viktor Vekselberg, who has been sanctioned by the U.S. government for his role in the Russian energy industry. The paper continues that the evidence suggests Santos may have had a business relationship with Intrater as Santos was first entering politics back in 2020. It also shows, according to that SEC filing, Intrater put hundreds of thousands of dollars into Santos's one-time employer, Harbor City, which has been accused by regulators of running a Ponzi scheme. Neither Santos nor Intrater responded to requests for comments from the Washington Post. Attorneys who represented Intrater also did not respond. So, Jackie, Speaker McCarthy was asked again yesterday, and he'll be asked again tomorrow about some new story about George Santos, and he sort of brushes it aside, including the allegations that a member of Santos's campaign impersonated someone from Speaker McCarthy's office to raise money. He said, "Oh, McCarthy, I only heard about that later." It's clear that he's not going to step in here and say this guy has to go because he needs his vote primarily.
Yeah, this is a really delicate situation for McCarthy because with such a slim majority, he technically needs George Santos in that majority to keep it. And if he calls for him to resign, like a lot of his New York Republican counterparts who have been calling on for his resignation for a week now, there could be a special election and a Democrat could very well win, making McCarthy's path as a speaker even more complicated than it already is. That being said, I think that Republicans are also banking on sort of the process playing out itself. There's already been a bunch of ethics references for Santos to be investigated. I think there's also a feeling that criminal investigation is looming large, especially as reporters continue to follow the money here. This Post report by my colleagues is just the latest in revelations with regards to Santos's potentially illegal campaign finance handling. So, you know, McCarthy is going to continue to be asked questions, but I'm not necessarily sure we're going to see him change his stance here, and Republicans are following suit.
Yeah, Joe, a lot of the details, of course, are comical, and we've been laughing about them. The double knee replacement as a result of his great volleyball career at Baruch College. Yeah. He didn't go to Baruch College, didn't play volleyball, probably didn't have double knee replacement. But Jackie's right. There are serious allegations about fundraising, about ethics, and who he's actually connected to, who put him in office.
Yeah, I mean, you look, John Heilemann, the Washington Post reporting, obviously, real reasons for concerns. But you brought up a great point in conversation we had yesterday about the number of lies Donald Trump told during his presidency, according to the Washington Post fact checker. I mean, this guy Santos, we're talking about double knee replacements, joking about all of his lies, but this guy is just, he's like a mascot for Trump Republicans, in that it's hard for them to condemn him because he actually is mimicking the almost comical result in mascot form of much bigger lies that this party has told for 6 years, lies that have national security implications, lies that have impacted the United States Supreme Court, lies that have threatened American democracy.
You know, Joe, somebody the other day said, Donald Trump told a lot of lies when he was president. Of course, we know he's the most pathological and promiscuous liar ever to sit in the Oval Office. Someone said, we gave up counting. Well, we didn't give up counting. In fact, the Washington Post kept counting. And I noted that at the end of the term, we kind of lost track of this at the end of 2020. They finally totaled up 30,573 lies. Proven lies, according to the Washington Post, in Donald Trump's 4 years in office. I haven't done the math yet on how many lies per day that is, but just, that's a lot of lies, right? And you think about that, the promiscuity and the pathology of that kind of lying from the top of a political party. What does that give rise to? It gives rise to a party that became addicted to the big lie, the lie about the 2020 election. This is now a party that's built fundamentally it is a house of lies. It is a party built on a foundation that's been completely eaten away by the dishonesty that has started at the top, like a fish rotting from the head down. And so, of course, we were going to get George Santos. Of course, we were going to get that in a party that has embraced the big lie and embraced Donald Trump, the pathological, promiscuous liar that he was. Of course, George Santos is almost an inevitable byproduct of that. You say he's a mascot. I think that's right. He's like a mascot cartoon version of Donald Trump on steroids, except like at the end of a dog leash or something. It's like this is what happens when a party becomes wholly corrupted by a culture of lies and leadership that's been led by lies. I just think that it's metaphorical. It's a powerful metaphor for what's happened to the Republican Party, and it's also kind of the inevitable consequence. This is the kind of candidate that a party like that is going to recruit.